So that's cool. We might actually be able to get some performance boost out of that if we need it. Okay, so I need to get back into actually doing things that could be useful. And I have this fan on and it's blowing air past my face, which dries out my eyes. It's the worst thing ever. Any reason you're not deciding to use EU4's material editor for ripples? Well, Bannockburn 1314. I mean, that is a cool name. By the way, we will be using EU4's material editor for ripples, but we need to get the information to the material. So basically what we're trying to do is we have like a flow field texture and all that stuff, and we want to be able to create a ripple in the water, so we have to figure out how we're going to get that information into the material. And the way that we're going to get it into the material, at least that I think I'm going to try, is by writing it to a texture and then passing that in, so that inside of the material I can look up like, oh, there's supposed to be like a ripple right at this location, so I can then draw that in the pixel shader. So, and then we'll have like dynamic ripples, right? So like if somebody walks on the surface of the water or something, that, you know, we actually get some stuff in there. So yeah, we're definitely going to be using EU4's materials. I don't know of another way to get it into the material in a way. Like there's no arrays inside of materials and stuff like that. So I've been trying to figure out the right way. Like decals on the surface of the water are a good candidate, but we can't move those around. They're a little limiting. Like we can't use, like I can't change the geometry in the vertex shader with those, with decals. So I was trying like a dynamic texture that I'd render to. And that's where I am right now. Is I need to start actually writing this thing, I believe. Are you using the Paper 2D plugin? Yeah, we're using the Paper 2D plugin, but I've modified it quite a bit. Like Paper 2D doesn't support animation events, it doesn't support per frame collision on multiple collision parts. So like if your character has a head or some feet or something and you want to know if something hit it, you know, you're like, good luck. That's not going to work in Paper 2D. Oh, you wanted to know when frame 5 fired? And you want to know the location of, you know, where the gun is that you're firing from? And which orientation it is? Yeah, sorry. You're going to have to check that yourself. You know, no animation events for you. But I did a whole bunch of stuff like that to improve it. But yeah, we're basically using that same thing. Alright, so what part of this system do I need to actually make? Okay, I need to actually make the whole system, don't I? I need to know how we're going to interact with this. Now, the first thing I need to see is I want to be able to draw to this texture and see what sort of fidelity I need on it. So what I need to do is write a quick and dirty sort of tick function for this flow field thing. Oh, you decided to use the spreader plugin instead. Oh, I haven't used the spreader plugin. But if it's got all the rest of that stuff, then yeah, it's probably most definitely a better solution than Paper 2D stuff. Because the Paper 2D stuff, I don't like, they're not even supporting that anymore as far as I understand. So you're kind of SOL if you were wanting updates for it and stuff like that. Alright, I'm just gonna kind of chuck this stuff in here, so I'm not trying to write this efficiently, I'm just trying to get an idea of how many pixels I'm gonna need here for this thing. So what I want to do is I want a function here which will, this will be kind of a test thing, we'll do like u function, create ripple in a specific location. Let's just call it create ripple, and we're just going to have like an X and a Y or something. And we'll need a collection of them. So let's just throw like a simple struct up here. So we're going to have a float m time, n32 and x, n32 and y. And we'll just have, a piece of trash down here. We'll just have a TRA of these things. And we basically pick this up. Do you allow links about UE4 stuff? And was wondering if you've seen any other info learning resources about dealing with water. You're gonna have to PM me a link. I delete all links regardless, automatically. So just send the link to me as a PM and I'll take a look at it, and then if it's cool, I'll post it. Yeah, so Spriter's really good. It lacks the re-importing, which you had to re-import yourself. Unless Epic does more work to pay for you, I'm probably not going to use EU4 for 2D again. Yeah, I did like a whole re-import pipeline thing for us for this game. It was just absolutely necessary to do. So, because we're using Toon Boom Harmony for our animation, so I've actually got this import pipeline where we've got like these characters, and when we export, we've got like the sprite sheet and everything like that for a character. And we've got normals for that character, and then we've got emissives for that character. Of course, not for this guy, but and combining all that together and everything, that would have been just awful if we had to do it by hand. Yeah, I found a lot of that stuff. A lot of like the water resources online, I haven't been particularly impressed with. Kind of like a lot of them usually only work with specific versions of like the engine, or I mean not the engine, but with specific like operating systems. It's like, oh well, this just uses tessellation to do this, and you're just like, well, you just lost your market that doesn't have DirectX 11 on it or whatever, and I don't. And Null 513, this game from being released, we'll see. We're hoping that our timeline puts us in, late this year for stuff. But I mean, we're not just gonna push crap out the door. We're gonna be working on this till we're ready to ship it. So we're gonna be, if we get something this year, we'll get it this year. That's what we want to do. So you got the water surface overview from Unreal. Yeah, so this is the link that Artec is talking about with different types of water and everything. But yeah, the vertex shader stuff also doesn't really work very well with planar reflections and all that sort of stuff. And most of this game is calm water, so we're not trying to model an ocean or something else. So I don't know. The other thing is when you're doing stuff like this with water, I haven't actually done a whole lot of water stuff or ever. So for me, it's also kind of an experiment of, hey, let's, mess around with stuff. And if, like, Adam asked for some effect, like, water is a big deal for Adam because Adam's the artist. Because pretty much the whole world is water for him. So if there's something in there that I can't really do or I don't fully understand, I want to. That would be a really bad thing for me because then I wouldn't understand it. So let's see, I got my time utils. I'll snag the time there. You guys up for a perspective at a low field view? Oh god, yeah. We tried the orthographic camera, and just like shadows and lighting, and nothing works with orthographic. Like we tried to get it all working. We tried some really nasty hacks. Like I made a camera basically that had like a 90-degree field of view that intersected with like an orthographic plane in the middle. So it was like the camera kind of looked like this, where it's like here's like your normal camera, and then like the running track was in the middle, and then like the camera continues, so it could have like nice 3D backgrounds, and like this part of the scene would be rendered using an orthographic projection, and the rest of it was like a perspective projection. And we got some interesting stuff out of there, but then like we tried to start doing some lighting, and like nothing works with Unreal's orthographic camera with lighting. It's just like, what the hell? It's just wrong. It's broken. It doesn't work. So yeah, we definitely are doing a perspective camera with a small field of view. I wish we weren't, but yeah, that's kind of what it is. It's a real pain in the ass to do as well. Like Unity is a lot easier to deal with multiple cameras. Yeah, what the hell is going on? It doesn't know what's going on either. Like I tried to reverse engineer some of it, and basically the math is just wrong. Their lighting calculations are just flat out broken and don't work with an orthographic projection. Alright, so for every ripple, yeah, what was I doing? I need... So you were working on swimmable water for your RPG, and it started fine, but then you added some ocean floor environments. Oh yeah, playing on land and playing in water, just a huge pain in the ass. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there that's real difficult, and we're not doing that. Like we can run on water and your character can fall into water, but it's not like we're actually having the character fall into water. Like the character is still on top of the water, but it's like just their head, right? And you can't see into the water, so because it's opaque, so you can't see the character. So it's like the character doesn't actually fall into the water. It just the animation makes it look like it does. So we're just kind of sidestepping that entire issue. Let's just do some utter trash stuff right here, because I really don't care. let's see. Over 3 seconds, this thing should go, let's just say 30 pixels. So radius equals 30 pixels, and we're just drawing a circle? Is that what we're doing? Let's just draw a box, fuck it. Alright, so we're going to draw the left side, right side, top and bottom of our box. So we're going to say that texture component mdata sub, what is it going to be, x plus mmap.mwidth times y dot r equals 255. And this is just going to be just trash code. So let's just copy paste the hell out of this because nobody cares. Alright, so that's going to be like the in32 AY, there's going to be what? Rip.my minus radius. So we should see ripples whenever we do this. We'll just have a ripple, create ripple in that location, and it'll last for 3 seconds, and it'll get bigger. It'll get up to 30 pixels in radius, but that'll just be a box, because who cares? And I'll just like hook that up to a button on the keyboard and just jam on it a little bit and see what it looks like. And the idea is what we're going to want to see is how detailed it can be. So we'll res down the texture that we're writing to until this like looks just like crap. And We'll see what fidelity we can see in our texture as it's written to this thing. And I need to not forget that this is a separate width and height array from the backing map that we already have, so I need to replace these things so I don't crash the hell out of this. What's with the gloves? I started wearing them. You saw it. Everybody's seen that South Park episode with That Which Has No Life. And of course, at the time that came out, I was unemployed after college because it took me months to find a job. And I was like, man, that guy's got it made, because I was playing a whole bunch of MMOs, and I was like, man, my hands get like all worn and shit. So I started wearing gloves when I was playing because I saw that dude on television and was like, I want to be just like that guy. And so I just got in the habit of wearing gloves, and that's just kind of helps me out, get into work mode, kind of all that. Should make a standing link for the freaking gloves. I know I should, just because every time somebody asks, Karakan has this link for a clip where I had like the ultimate glove question, but it's funny. It's just, I think a lot of people ask it because they think like, oh man, I hope that dude like doesn't have some like horrible degenerative disease with his hands or something, or maybe they're just like, man, that guy looks like a fucking tool bag with his stupid ass biking gloves. Who does he think he is? Like, I know exactly what I'm doing. I know exactly how dumb I look, and I really don't care. Alright, so this is the dynamic flow field. Why is it blue? Is it blue because we're actually setting it to blue? Oh man, look at that. Look at that. I missed a comma, and because of the constructor, it made it blue. Alright, well that's fine. So I'm going to go to this blueprint. And we've got these updates here. Let's just set it to 512. And what was the function that we had for this spawner for the activate key? Yeah, okay, here we go. And that's a struct key. I don't need a whole variable for this. I guess I do. Let's make a local variable. Alright, so what should our key be? Let's make it be the... Let's jam on the A key. Let's also have a local variable here. Let's call it map size. Using UMG for your UI? Oh hell no! I am using WebKit for my UI. Alright, so I'm going to want 2 random numbers here. And we're going to call create ripple. I'm going to pass in our X and our Y whenever we jam on that A key. So let's see if it works. Texture streaming pool. Why am I just now getting that thing? Like, I wasn't seeing that earlier. Looks like we're not drawing the left side. It goes X, so it's like the negative X isn't drawing. Any reason you're not a fan of UMG? Not really. Basically, it has to do with, like, if I'm gonna make a piece of UI, I don't know, like all the modern games I've worked in, like you just use WebKit. Like ever since like 2009 or 2012 or something, it's like pretty much everybody professionally used Scaleform for a while. They still use Scaleform for a lot of things, but like as soon as WebKit was performant enough to be used on everything, it was just like just use WebKit because it's so much easier to just put together stuff that works and all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of my reasoning. Yeah, okay, so there's the left side not being rendered. Cool, I'll just use that. Yeah, I'm using Chromium Embedded Framework for it. Some of the advantages for WebKit and all that stuff is you can like hot reload everything in the game. You can use, you know, what you use for development. You don't actually use the game for developing your UI. You just build a web page and use like Chrome or Firefox or whatever you're most comfortable with to build the whole thing. And then you just run it in the game. And there's a lot of features in there that just work. And you can use all your fancy UI plugin stuff like jQuery or whatever if you're wanting it. Most of it will work just fine inside of browser stuff. I by far prefer to build a web page in UI than UMG. Yeah, Slate and UMG and all that crap, I'm just like, are you for real? It was pretty funny, like, we were using Unreal before before it came out, UE4 before it came out. It's like a black texture. So that's kind of our Ripple stuff there we could actually use. And alright, so that looks like decent stuff. Do you think the Amazon version of CryEngine will give any good games besides Star Citizen? You mean, you're talking about Lumberyard, right? UU water, yeah, it's the black evil water. So let's take a look. The resolution's actually not too bad. I could see, actually drawing circles and updating circles would be probably just fine. Well, let's res it down and see how crappy it looks. Yeah, when like Unreal 4 was coming out, we got a copy of it when we were at Molten Games, and like there was this big tech thing about like, well, do we use Slate and Unreal's stuff, or do we go like get Scaleform? And it was pretty funny because we decided, I think a bunch of guys went over to Epic and talked to them for like a couple days or whatever, and one of the big things was the UI, and it was really funny. It was like they described the guy who made Slate as just like sitting there really grumpy and like just defending himself the whole time while they asked questions, and they got back and they're just like, ah, fuck it, we're doing Scaleform. And if you're curious, Panic Burn, I am using it's 2017 Slate still a thing. It's true, it is. That's because they had like contract negotiations to try to get Scaleform pulled into the Unreal 4 engine, and those fell through as far as I know. Where is that damn plugin? Yeah, so there's the web browser plugin, which is an experimental thing. So you can use it. There are some issues with it. It doesn't work completely properly. And yeah, I'll get to Lumberyard. So you can use it. Some of the things that it doesn't do. Let me see. Where is this web browser plugin? Where is it? On the frickin'... I guess it's just in widgets? What? Where are you? Yeah, this is inside of source third-party CEF3. Alright. So source third-party CEF3 is in there. Alright, so that's where we're using that. Where is webwindow.h? I remember messing with that. Is it swebwindow? S browser window? Crap. Yeah, swebbrowser.h. Alright. So that's inside of runtime web browser. Alright, that's where it is. So sometimes it's real pain in the ass to find stuff. Yeah, so to actually get this thing to work, Um, it doesn't actually work properly with scaling the web window out. And it looks like we had a perforce big merge after I'd already done the work on that, so I'd have to do like a folder diff on it. So yeah, like there's a web browser window that works, but there's an issue with the actual scripting, with the actual scaling of the web browser window itself. Ah, fuck it, I don't know. Anyway, it is slightly broken. Yes, the inputs get totally screwed. So I had to reroute the input system for that thing. So like I had to reroute these key up and key down events, and there's a whole thing in here. You can read the comment that Epic has, and it's like, this is an ugly cat hack to inject unhandled keyboards back into Slate. So like the web browser window will actually grab all the keyboard input from the universe, pass it over to this Chromium embedded framework thread, and then if that thread handles the click or the mouse event or something, it'll consume it. Otherwise, it'll hand it back to Slate. So you might think that that sounds like a reasonable solution, but that's actually freaking retarded, because what's going to happen is like you're going to have to wait an entire, frame, obviously at least a minimum of one frame, and of course your web browser window's not running at 60 FPS. So all your like mouse events or your clicks or your like hitting your keys are going to be waiting like 3 frames in order to actually get to the piece of UI or the game that they're supposed to be used with. So I had to work around that, because that's obviously a horrible plan in a platformer where when you press the jump button you gotta jump immediately. So there's stuff in there that you gotta mess with. And what was this change? Oh yeah, there's also like they screwed up this JS bindings to lowering enabled, just fucking annoying. Yeah, so I had to come up with a solution to that. They broke a bunch of their crap with their update from 4.14 to 4.16. I think this was my favorite one, where they went from having something all uppercase to something all lowercase. I was just like, you bastards. Get used to, like, their documentation says like that the JavaScript variable is supposed to be like UE4 engine, but it's not. It's just UE4. And then they changed it with the update. It went from UE4 all like lowercase to like all like EU4 uppercase or something. It was really dumb. Like they've done some crap like that. The other thing is the web window does not scale properly to cover like the whole window itself. So you have to implement the scale stuff, and I'm not sure where the hell that is. It's somewhere inside of the web window garbage town, and it's not too bad to deal with. But it's gonna be the web browser viewport. Yeah, that was where it is. Yeah, this right here. They just had the wrong math in here for that. So if you fix the viewport max size and all that stuff, then you can get a window that actually covers the whole screen and does all the cool stuff with it. So there's only like 2 or 3 really big fixes that have to be done, and then basically you've got a WebKit window in there, and that would cost you like $5,000 if you were using Coherent or some of the other solutions that have like plugins or whatever for Unreal. So it might help you out. Also, if you do try to go down that route, you can always send me a PM, and I might be able to help you out with a drop of the changes we made. Anyway, yeah, Lumberyard, like, to come back to my Mafe, we used Lumberyard when I was at Amazon. I was there when, like, we actually got like, there was a different engine they were working on, and then, you know, they switched over to CryEngine and got a whole drop of that. It also depends, Bannockburn, on exactly what's supported. So, like, I'm not too... basically, what I think for UI is that if we're going to go to another platform, any platform, like if we're going to ship on the Nintendo Switch or the PlayStation or the Xbox or whatever the hell, I am going to have the money to buy whatever licenses I need to make WebKit stuff work. Like, it's Unreal 4. There are WebKit solutions. All you have to do is throw money at that problem. So your web pages will work. So if you build your whole UI inside of the WebKit stuff, you'll be able to port it to whatever you want pretty simply, because there's always a solution. And it's something that if you had money, you know, you can just throw it at whoever, you know, because if you're actually going to go ship on like a console or something, you're not just going to do it because, at least not in a professional sense, you're not going to do it unless you actually have money and, you know, people doing stuff with you. So throwing X dollars is not a big deal. But I find it a lot easier because I can just, you know, screw around with JavaScript code and it just works. You know, I don't need to open the game to even run anything. It just does what I want it to. See, I was working with Lumberyard back at Amazon when it was first coming out and all that stuff, and I don't know. Let's just say there were people very unhappy about that purchase, and I know one guy who like quit pretty much because he's like, we should be using Unreal 4, and he's just like, fuck this, I quit. So, any good games besides Star Citizen? The thing about Amazon is they got fuck you money, right? And they have probably the most FU money of any company on the planet. Sans like Alphabet or Google or whatever, right? So Lumberyard's going to be around. It's going to have endless numbers of dollars pumped into it. And it's going to be a thing. Regardless of if it's actually successful or not. People are still going to be pumping money into it. So, and games will be made on it because at minimum, Amazon will make people, you know, make it lucrative for people to make stuff on it. Like, you know, go actually get like a second or third party studio and just be like, you're making a game on Lumberyard, like, and we're paying you to do it, so here you go. Are those just shadows? What the fuck is that? Oh, well, I'm not going to worry about it. Alright, so I need to res this thing down. What just crashed? Interesting. Well, I forgot to actually put protections about all this stuff for my input manager. That's a new one. So I don't know. I'd expect Lumberyard to get a lot better than it is currently, and I'd expect it to eclipse CryEngine and all that stuff. And there'll be people who use it, and people who don't use it, and I don't really see a reason to use it at the moment. Like, even the whole... It's basically going to be a free product, and you're going to know Lumberyard is actually a thing if it ever becomes not free. Because, Amazon is a publicly traded company. They're not doing anything out of the goodness of their own heart. They're doing it out of their goodness of their own pocketbook. Sometimes that, of course, is not a mutually exclusive thing. It is a good thing to treat your customers very well because they come back and buy stuff. Or they help you not get sued by the government. Microsoft made that mistake. You gotta pay the right people and keep people happy, otherwise you'll get screwed. So if Lumberyard ever actually starts charging money, that's when I would think, alright, this engine's like serious now. But until it's, I'd have to really see games actually be successful on Lumberyard to really want to learn it. Because, let's say I'm running a game studio, right? It will surely have enormous revenue share if it's free. If it's free, I mean, I doubt they're going to be taking your money. Like, right now they need people to make games on it to convince people that it's actually a viable platform. Because, if I owned a studio and, I'm putting all these dollars on the line with employees and, my dream of making some game or something, I'm already taking an incredible amount of risk in terms of, I'm already making a risky project. Games are very risky investments. You're not going to make your money back on a game unless, you're actually successful, and that doesn't happen to a lot of games. Hell, just shipping sometimes is incredibly difficult. So if I'm already taking a whole bunch of risk, why would I take more by picking an engine that isn't proven with a track record on absolutely everything? It's just not a good idea. I'm going to take my risk in other areas, like, okay, we're going to combine, this RPG system that nobody's ever used with this thing from a real-time strategy game. That's going to be where I'm going to be risky with my investment. And I don't think they'd have a limited free version because it's more difficult to make two products like that, right? Like, if you're making a product and you're making a free version of that product and a paid version of that product, that's difficult. You gotta actually have stuff there. The only things you'd actually, I think, make limited would be some licensing agreements. You can't, support more than X number of users, otherwise we'll come sue you or something. And Amazon doesn't sue people anymore. So they kind of learned their lesson that large corporations do not get looked upon very favorably in the courtroom. So they only sue defensively, as far as I understand now. So we have our ripples getting created. I want to lower the map size. Let's lower it to something real small, like a 64 by 64 thing, and see what that looks like. I mean, what I like about this is, the texture doesn't look all awful, and we'd actually have nice blending and everything else. So even if it wasn't perfect, full res, we could actually get away with probably quite a bit of trash city with this, even though it's a tiny texture. Because I was expecting a 64 by 64 to look just real bad. Let's make it just real trash. Let's give it a 32 texture. This will be tier 2 trash. Yeah, it's not too bad. We'll give it a 4x4 texture because we can. And these are all 1 pixel wide, so what I should be able to do basically is, that's the smallest I'd be able to make a ripple in the water at this size of water in the world. And you got to take into account that these are going to be dynamic ripples, things that are be close to the camera with water that's also close to the camera. Yeah, my MFA, there's almost no way that Amazon can break into the market without paying people to go make games. That's, I think, a lot in part of why they have multiple first-party studios working on games. Like, I think one of their games, Breakaway, etc. Like they bought Double Helix a couple years ago. They've got the new studio down in San Diego. There's, they have teams in Seattle, wherever the hell Double Helix is. Like, it's in the Bay Area, I think. I forget. I haven't been there. And then San Diego. So they got like 3 different locations of teams that are not trivial teams. Like, these are 60 or more people per team, and I think the whole org area is like 500, 600 people or something. So they are definitely on track to get lots of stuff going on. The other thing I have to worry about is this texture space is warped by the scale of the thing, so we'll have to take that into account when writing pixels. I have to write a little bit bigger. Alright, what's the 512 look like again? Yeah, I think that was what, DICE or whatever came up with Frostbite, and then everybody else had to get on the Frostbite bandwagon after that. That was kind of a big thing. Oh man, in-engine cutscenes and stuff like that was their big selling point, a lot of that. So yeah, like with Frostbite and all that when I was there was very much the new thing. EA was like on a standardization march at that point. And it was one of the questions they had was like, what was the, because there were some pretty big deficiencies with some of the technology that was coming out of the various studios that caused a lot of that. I think like a lot of engines that people were putting together were kind of trash, especially like the mobile and social stuff. I can attest to that. The architecture we had for Dragon Age Legends that I was a very large part of was just crap, and that's because it was my first. We didn't know what the hell we were doing. Learned quite a bit since then. And then like Simpsons tapped out, had to like remake the entire thing from scratch pretty much. After they launched once, everything fell over. Then they had to like take a whole year, re-architect it, and launch it again. You kind of see all the big failures there, like SimCity launched and just like architecture trash. So you kind of see how like the upper executive management would start to be like, hey, you know what? You guys that think you're all super smart, like, here's what we want. We want you guys to use all the same crap because, let's be honest, let's just look at the track record here of you guys in these various studios making your own platforms. Let's just say it's not very good. It's starting to cost us a lot of frickin' money, so we're gonna start standardizing regardless of everything. Because they need consistency, it's about risk. Alright, so I need to change this blueprint to spawn ripples. I need some longer lifetimes. So I'll just have that go there. So yeah, so we can support any number of ripples with this. I think it's got the right resolution. At this scale, I think we're able to update it at runtime just fine. And then I'm going to have to actually go build the system that can do that, and we'll layer this on top of what we got going on with the rest of it. And I wonder exactly how I should do this sort of thing. Like how I should actually combine the layers here. Because like I could do like a circle drawing algorithm. But circle drawing algorithms are not the most trivial thing on the planet. And I have to, it's also not going to be a circle. I have to like spawn this ripple field thing, and then I have to move stuff around on it, and then create